These accessibility do's and don'ts are not just useful for the user group you implement them for, because accessible design will benefit every other participant's experience. As we celebrate the International Day of Persons with Disabilities today, I'd like to discuss how we as facilitators and event organizers can ensure that our workshops, our meetings, our sessions, our conferences can be more accessible to everyone and support a vision where disabled people can participate fully in every aspect of political, social, economic, and cultural life. The following tips and recommendations are the product of my experience, research, and exchanges with disability professionals and disabled persons. This is a very vast topic and I will not be able to cover everything, so I invite you to share your suggestions and recommendations in the comment section below. As a facilitator, my first step in identifying possible barriers in participation will be to ask the event organizer about accessibility needs. This is important because I will not always be able to plan ahead of every single possible disability or condition. Note that I do not need to know what specific condition or diagnosis people have. That's personal information and none of my beeswax. What I do need to know is which type of arrangements or accommodations will be needed. I realize that a lot of the time, this information will only reach the facilitator once programs and activities have already been drafted or even published. Some flexibility will be key here to provide an accessible experience for everyone. Once you know the reasonable accommodations you will be working with, let's have a look at the draft program and the participant experience to see if those will impact the activities we were planning. For a physical workshop, I might limit activities that require people to move around a lot, get up, sit down repeatedly, or pick up things from the floor. I might need to provide the PowerPoint presentations in advance to someone who will read them with a screen reader. In that case, I will make sure to caption any images or diagrams with a descriptive alternative text, also called alt text. I will make sure that any other presenters also provide a PowerPoint ahead of time with alt text. I might have to make sure to provide substantial bio breaks between activities to allow participants to look after their medical needs. I might need to remember to turn on the automated captions in a virtual workshop and make sure that any instructions that are delivered in speech are also delivered in chat prompts. I might need to pay attention to other ways that people process information and consistently include visual prompts. You'll find below links to tips and resources that are going to greatly help people who process visual information differently. Icons, much like emojis and diagrams, can provide an additional way to communicate or enhance communication and information processing. Make sure that the contrast between the text and the background is sufficient for the text to be legible. This will be greatly helpful for people with low vision. Aligning your text to the left rather than justifying it across the page is greatly helpful to participants with dyslexia, which is a fairly common learning difficulty. Likewise, avoiding large blocks of text and breaking up information in more digestible chunks with bulleted lists and diagrams will be useful for participants on the autistic spectrum, those with learning disabilities, and just about anyone who appreciates information being delivered in a structured and synthetic way. And this brings me to my next point. Some of these accessibility do's and don'ts are not just useful for the user groups that you immediately think of. For example, providing visual information and text captions will also be useful for people for whom English is not the native language. Providing clear instructions and steps will be useful for people with anxiety, but it will benefit every other participant's experience. Moral of the story is, by considering accessibility in your session plans and materials, you're potentially improving everyone's experience quality and ease of engagement. Here are some additional recommendations and considerations for facilitators and event organizers who would like to create a more accessible and inclusive experience for everyone. The first one is to involve persons with disabilities in the early stages of your program development and seek their input. If you're facing any design and accessibility challenges, they could help you overcome those by co-creating an elegant solution. If you will be meeting a group more than once, pay attention to the learning styles and types of activities that participants seem to favor or take to easily. If possible, use that to inform your next session design. This is more advanced, but when possible, give participants the possibility to shape the program by giving them the option between peer-to-peer activity and plenary activities. Think of it as a choose-your-own-adventure type of program. This will require more effort and preparation from the facilitator and the event organizer, but it gives participants the options to select the types of sessions that allow them to engage and communicate in the way that is most comfortable to them. How about you? Which of these strategies are you using or have you been using when striving for a more accessible user experience? Do you find that hosting events and workshops online is making your accessibility goals easier or, on the contrary, harder to achieve? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share your ideas in the comment section below.